Okay, so now we've got our document set up. It's time to get working with some artwork. So to start off with, we're going to go over here to the layers palette and pull that out. If we click on that there, we should be able to see it, and we can then just drag it off so we've got it present all the time. I'm going to make my layers palette a bit bigger for you, so I'm going to go to panel options and I'm going to set it to other. I'm going to set it to say 45 pixels. Let's click OK, and that makes things a bit bigger for you to see. Okay, if I wanted to get my layers palette out and I couldn't see the icon, remember they're all stored in the Windows menu in alphabetical order there, so we can go to layers there. Okay, the first thing we've got here is a layer, and we're just going to work with the layer for the moment. I'm going to show you some little bits of how you can work with your artwork on a layer, and then we're going to set up the layers ready for our lino cuts. Now if we move down over to this side of the screen, we can see that we've got the default setting, which is a white shape with a black stroke, a black outline. And if I click on that black stroke, it brings it to the front. And if I click on the white stroke, it brings that to the front. I can achieve the same effect by pressing the X key on my keyboard. Okay, and that's going to be useful later on. If I press Shift X, you'll see that the values are reversed. Okay, so I could have achieved that by clicking these little tiny arrows here, but that's what we want. And if I press X now and move that stroke in front, underneath it is a red diagonal line, which means a no value. So now I've got a black fill with no stroke. Okay, so I could have done that by going Shift F X X forward stroke as well on the keyboard to achieve that. That's the value that I'm going to work with, and it's quite a good one for a default. Next, I want to go to get the marquee tool, the rectangular tool. The shortcut for that is M. Just pressing M on its own gets that tool selected there, rectangle tool. And let's just draw a black rectangle. And when I do that, you see that appear in my layers palette there. And we can see that on this layer, if I click that little disclosure triangle, I've got one rectangle shape. Now I can always rename this and call this artwork. And in fact, I could rename that as well if I wanted to, but I'm not going to. That's just a rectangle. Now I want to work with it, and I'm going to work with it using the eraser tool. The shortcut for the eraser tool is Shift E, so I'll hold down Shift and I type E, okay, and you can see it over here. Eraser tool, Shift E. Okay. When I do that, I can cut into any selected shape, and this essentially is what we're going to be doing with this. If I had a graphics tablet and a pressure tablet, I could make it respond to the pressure of my marks that I was making. Okay, but you can notice that when I go that way, I get a thin line, but when I go that way, I get a thinner line. Why is that? Well, it's because I've been working with this before. If I now double click on the eraser tool, I can change some of the settings of my eraser. So, for example, you can see I've got an angle there, and I can turn it sideways, or I can turn it around there like that. Let's just do it like that. So now, when I do that, I get thin lines, and when I go across, I get fat lines. I go back to that, double click. Okay, I can change the roundness, so it's completely round, and of course when it's round it doesn't really much matter what angle I have. So let's click OK there, and you can see if I go like that and I go like that, I get the same marks whatever I do. Let's double click on it again. Okay, and I can change the size of it. Let's make it a bit bigger. So now you can see that I've got a much bigger tool. Now if I click off, so that's no longer selected, remember in Illustrator a golden rule is that you always select artwork before doing anything to it. There's only one instance where you don't do that, but that's not really something we're going to be dealing with today, so just remember it as a simple golden rule. Now if I click on this shape, it's a separate shape from this shape here, so if I move that around you can see that moves independently. Let's move that back. You can see on my layers palette that I've got lots and lots and lots of different shapes now that I've made by all my cutting. If I hide them there, if I wanted to select all of my shapes in one go, I could go up to here and click between this circle and the edge there, just click there, and you can see I've got a blue square because this layer is color coded blue, so every selected shape on it has a blue outline. The outline is not really part of the shape, it's just there to show you that it's selected. But if I want to select all the artwork on a layer, I click on that blue shape there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press delete now, and we're ready to actually start doing the artwork. So now you know how the eraser tool works, you know how we're going to work with this. The next thing to do is to bring in a photograph on a layer, lock it, and then work on some artwork above it. and that's all coming up next.